It was my first night in the hotel, one of those small old places that felt like it hadn't been updated since the 70s. The hallways were dim, with flickering lights that buzzed just a bit too loudly. I didn't think much of it. Cheap hotels often have quirks like that. But that first night, something felt off. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of heavy breathing. Not mine. The room was pitch black, and the only light came from a flickering street lamp outside, barely illuminating the edge of my bed. I brushed it off. Maybe I was dreaming. But then I heard it again. A slow, rasping inhale, followed by an exhale that sent chills down my spine. It wasn't in my head. It was in the room. I sat up, heart pounding, scanning the shadows. "Hello?" I whispered, half hoping no one would respond. Silence. I grabbed my phone, used the flashlight, and pointed it toward the closet. Nothing. The bathroom door creaked slightly as if someone had just brushed against it. I swung the light that way, praying not to see anything. But again, nothing. Just my paranoia, right? I managed to convince myself it was the old building making noises. I laid back down and tried to sleep, but then came the knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps on the door. Knock, knock, knock. I froze. Who knocks at 3 a.m.? I stared at the door, my body tense. Do I answer? What if it's just someone from the front desk? I gathered the courage and slowly approached the door, pressing my eye to the peephole. All I saw was darkness. Nothing, not even the hallway light. I stepped back. As I turned to walk away, there was another knock, this time from inside the room. My breath caught in my throat. No way. I swung the phone light around wildly. There it was. A shadow. No, a figure, standing in the far corner of the room. My heart raced and my body went cold. And then, it moved. I bolted for the door, but the handle wouldn't budge. I yanked and pulled, my pulse hammering in my ears. The figure was getting closer, its steps slow, deliberate, and heavy. Just as I thought it was over, the door suddenly flung open, and I stumbled into the hallway. I didn't stop to think. I ran down the stairs out of the hotel, gasping for air. I looked back at the building, trembling. But here's the thing. I was on the 4th floor. There are no stairs leading down from there, only an elevator. So how did I get out? When I asked the front desk the next day, they just smiled and said, "That room's been closed for years. No one's supposed to be up there." I was on a business trip staying in this massive maze-like hotel. You know the type, so many identical hallways, you lose track of where your room is. It was late when I checked in, around midnight, and all I wanted was to get some sleep. The receptionist handed me the key to room 704, told me the elevator was to the left, and wished me a good night with a smile that seemed off. I brushed it off, probably just tired. I found the elevator, rode it up to the 7th floor, and walked down the hall. Everything was quiet, too quiet. I found room 704 at the very end. The second I opened the door, I got hit with this strange smell, musty, like something had been sitting in the room for way too long. I figured the room hadn't been used in a while, no big deal. I dropped my bags and went to close the curtains. That's when I noticed there was no view. Nothing. Not a street, not other buildings, just a solid brick wall. Weird, right? But I was exhausted, so I shrugged it off and crashed into bed. That's when it started. A faint scratching sound coming from the walls. At first I thought it might be mice or something, but then the sound got louder, scraping, dragging, like nails being slowly pulled across the wall. I turned on the light, searching for where it was coming from, but nothing was out of place. I was too tired to care, and figured it was just an old building. I tried to sleep again, but the scraping became louder, closer. I felt something, a presence. My gut told me I wasn't alone. Suddenly, there was a thud behind me. I spun around. There was nothing but the bed and the dark room behind me. My heart was pounding now, and I thought, maybe I should ask for another room. I grabbed the phone to call the front desk, but it was dead. No dial tone, nothing. I quickly threw on my shoes and grabbed the door handle, ready to bolt. But when I opened the door, the hallway was gone. It was just brick. I stepped back, panic creeping in. This couldn't be real. I tried again. Brick. I looked at the windows. Same thing. Brick. I started banging on the door, screaming for help. There was no answer, no footsteps in the hall, just the sound of my own frantic breathing. I was trapped. Then the lights flickered. Once, twice, and then they went out. The room was plunged into darkness. The scratching sound returned, but this time, it wasn't on the walls. It was on the ceiling, directly above me. My heart felt like it was going to explode. I was frozen in place. Slowly, I looked up, and in the faint glow of the emergency exit sign, I saw it. A face, staring down at me. Its eyes were wide, unblinking, and hollow. It didn't move, didn't make a sound, until it smiled. I bolted for the door again, yanking, pulling, but it wouldn't open. That's when I heard a voice behind me whisper, "You're in the wrong room." The next morning, the staff found me in the lobby, shaking, white as a ghost. The receptionist handed me a new key with a casual smile. "Oh, sorry about that. You must have gone to room 704. That room doesn't exist anymore." It was supposed to be just another stay at another hotel. I'd been traveling for work, bouncing between cities, so when I checked into this hotel, nothing felt out of the ordinary. The place was sleek, modern, with one of those minimalistic designs that feel cold and impersonal. I was tired, so I grabbed my room key, room 918, and headed straight up. The room was fine. White walls, a small desk, one of those floor-length mirrors across from the bed. I threw my bags down and went straight to the bathroom to splash some water on my face. That's when I noticed something odd. The mirror in the room. It was angled just slightly toward the bed, almost like it was watching it. Weird, but whatever. Hotels are weird places. I was too exhausted to care, and plopped down on the bed. After a while, I felt this strange urge to look into the mirror again. You know how sometimes, out of the corner of your eye, you catch movement and your brain convinces you something's there? Yeah, that's what it felt like. I turned my head slowly and stared into the mirror. At first, it was just my reflection. Me, lying there, exhausted. But then, something shifted. In the reflection, I saw the bed behind me, except it wasn't empty anymore. There was a figure, standing perfectly still next to it. I froze. My mind raced. I looked over my shoulder. Nothing. But when I looked back into the mirror, it was still there, closer now. A woman, pale, eyes sunken in, her face covered in shadows. She didn't move, just stood there, watching me. I shot up from the bed, heart pounding, staring into the mirror. My reflection was fine, just me standing there alone. I tried to convince myself it was a trick of the light, maybe my eyes playing games after a long day. But I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, every muscle tense, unable to take my eyes off that damn mirror. Every time I closed them, I swore I heard faint whispering, like someone standing right next to me. At around 3 a.m., I felt the mattress shift like someone had sat down at the foot of the bed. I didn't dare move. Slowly, I opened my eyes, and the mirror was facing me again, showing me the room. And in the reflection, the woman was sitting on the bed, right next to me. Her face was inches from mine, her breath hot against my skin. My blood ran cold as I lay frozen in terror. I turned my head slowly, inch by inch, praying she wouldn't be there. But she was. Her hollow eyes locked onto mine, her mouth curled into a grin as she whispered, "You shouldn't have looked." I threw myself out of bed, grabbing for the door, yanking it open and running down the hall. I didn't stop until I was in the lobby, panting, shaking, terrified. When I told the front desk about what happened, they exchanged a glance before one of them hesitated and said, "Room 918? That room hasn't been booked in years. The last guest..." They trailed off, lowering their voice. The last guest vanished. Only her reflection was ever found.